He whispered, "Be careful. She's not stupid." I stood in the hall with a wet glass and a dry mouth. He was talking about me. The glass was half full. My hand was wet. I stood in the hall and held my breath. His voice came from our room. Soft. Close. Not for me. "I don't even want to hug her," he said. A small laugh. A dry one. Like a door that needs oil. "Of course I want to," he said. "I just have to be careful. She's not stupid." I looked down at the water. It shook. My fingers pressed the glass. Hard. Not enough to break. Just enough to feel the edge bite my skin. He lay on our bed. Back to the door. Feet crossed at the ankles. Phone to his ear. He talked slow, like there was all the time in the world. I set the glass on the counter. The ring of water spread like a small moon. I did not walk in. I did not speak. I turned. I went back down the hall. I placed the glass in the sink. The tap hissed. Water ran. I left it on. I stood still and let the sound cover me. No yelling. No questions. No show. Silence is a knife with no shine. It cuts without light. I held it in my hand. From that night, he was there. He moved around me. I did not reach for him. I did not ask about his day. I did not try to be soft. I became a quiet wall. He did not see it at first. He hummed in the morning. He smiled at his phone. He dressed for work and sprayed cologne. He walked past me and did not touch my shoulder. At dinner I ate in small bites. I looked at my plate. I did not speak. At night I turned to the far side of the bed. The sheet between us held a cold strip. We slept with the window open. The night air slipped in and lay where I did not. 3 days. 4. 5. On day 6 he stood by the sink. "Hey," he said. "You okay?" I looked at him. Not down. Not away. Right at him. "Yes," I said. "Why?" He waited for more. None came. I dried my hands with a towel. I placed the towel on the oven bar. I walked past him and picked up my keys. He watched me go. He did not speak. Little cuts came next. Friday. He came home with a pizza and a grin. "Movie night?" he asked. I was already watching something. I did not pause. I did not scoot over. "Started without you," I said. He stood. He stared at the TV. He sat at the far edge of the couch. We watched the same thing. It felt like 2 different rooms. Saturday. I came home late. Later than I ever did. He leaned on the counter. "Where were you?" he asked. I said. "With who?" "People." He blinked. He waited. I opened the fridge and took a cold bottle of water. The cap snapped. The sound was loud in the small room. I drank. I left him with his own quiet. A week passed. Then 2. He touched my arm one morning. Not soft. Not hard. Just a finger on my skin. I flinched. A small move. Enough. He pulled back like the stove was hot. His mouth stayed open a little. Then shut. That night he set 2 glasses on the coffee table. A red bottle. A corkscrew. A try. "Want some?" he asked. I looked. I stood. "I'm going to bed," I said. He sat alone with the bottle. He poured 1 glass. Then 2. Then put them back. Slow. The next day he cleaned the stove with fast hands. He scrubbed the same spot for too long. He did not hum. 3 weeks from the hallway day I got my proof. He went to shower. His phone lit up on our bed. 1 small line on the lock screen. "Tonight was incredible. I can't stop thinking about you." I stood in the doorway. Water ran in the bathroom. Steam moved under the light like thin fog. I did not touch his phone. I did not press the screen. I did not cry. I sat on the chair by the window. I watched the glass turn white with mist. I watched a drop slide down and make a path. He came out with a towel around his waist. He rubbed his hair and left small wet stars on the floor. He did not see the screen. He smiled at me like the sun came in his pocket. Morning came. He kissed the air near my cheek and left for work. The door clicked. I called in sick. I made tea. I opened my laptop. Phone bill. Numbers. Late. The same one. Over and over. I searched a name. I searched a tag. I looked at faces. Birthday cakes. Beach photos. Office chairs. A man in a blue suit. His arm around a woman in a silver dress. His smile wide and careful. His name was Michael. Or maybe not. People use short names when they hide. But the M fit like a glove. I closed the laptop. I sat still. I bought a small tracker. A tiny one. It stuck to the bottom of a car like gum. The box said it was legal. The box said it was simple. It was. He worked late. He stayed late. His phone face down. His shirt came home with a new crease. I turned into air and stone at once. Quiet in the house. Sharp in the shadows. I hired a woman with a camera. She never smiled. She wore flat shoes and moved like a cat. 3 days later, she sent me pictures. Dates. Times. A hotel with gold lights. A man in a blue suit. A woman's hand on his back. Room 714. Door open. Door shut. Door open again. Faces low. Heads close. She sent a video. He looked up and down the hall. He went in. He came out. The woman never pointed the camera at me. She did not need my face. She had my truth. I printed the texts. The dates. The pictures. I placed them in a thick envelope. The glue tasted like dust. I pressed it shut. He came home and whistled. He tossed his keys. He put his shoes by the door like a neat boy. He asked what was for dinner. I said, leftovers. He said, great. He ate fast. He licked his thumb and wiped a spot on the table. He looked at his phone. He turned it over so the screen was down. He said he was tired. We went to our room. He brushed his teeth and hummed again. Not the same tune. I set the envelope on his pillow. He stopped in the doorway. What's that? He asked. I sat on the edge of the bed. I looked at my knees. I looked at my hands. I looked at him. Open it, I said. He opened it. He pulled out page after page. His breath went thin. His jaw worked like he had gum with no sugar. He flipped a photo. Another one. Another. He looked at me. Not to the left. Not to the floor. Right at me. His lips moved. No sound came first. Then one word. Where? I lifted my hand. He stopped. You don't have to hug me, I said. You don't have to pretend. His mouth closed. He held the papers with both hands. They shook. The paper made a small dry song. He tried again. It's not. I looked at the wall. I did not blink. I did not save him. He swallowed. It was a mistake, he said. We. How many times? I asked. He stood still. The light over the bed hummed. The room smelled like soap and old flowers. He did not answer. The silence sat between us like a big dog. Months, he said at last. Months. I nodded once. Slow. Like I heard the weather. He took one step toward me. His fingers opened, like he might touch my wrist. I stepped back. A small move. Enough. He froze. His eyes went wide. His chest stilled for a beat. I put the envelope on the dresser. I turned off the light. I lay down on my side of the bed. The cold strip on the sheet was wide now. It ran like a river. He stood in the dark for a long time. He did not hum. He did not move. At last he lay down too. He faced the ceiling. He stayed awake. The next days were clean and sharp. He tried eggs in the morning. He made coffee and poured 2 cups. He brought one to me with both hands. I took the cup. I carried it to the sink. I poured it out. The steam rose and was gone. He cooked dinner. He set 2 plates. He lit a candle with his thumb and a small click. The flame shook. I ordered soup for 1. I told the driver to leave it at the door. I ate at the counter by the window. He sat alone at the table. He watched the candle burn low. He blew it out. Smoke curled up and made a thin snake. On the couch, he tried to sit close. I stood and left the room. The couch looked like a boat tied to nothing. He cried once. In the kitchen. Not loud. Not for a show. He held the edge of the counter with both hands. His shoulders made small moves up and down. I stayed in the hall and looked at the picture on the wall. Beach. A blue sky that never really was that blue. The night he broke, he came to the living room with red eyes and wild hair. Are you going to ignore me forever? He said. I looked at him. Yes. He shook. Yell at me, he said. Call me names. Do something. I put my phone face down on the table. I leaned forward with my elbows on my knees. You don't get my anger, I said. You don't get my time. He stood there and held his breath. Air did not move. Then it did. He dropped his head. He pressed his lips tight. The house turned wide. Then small. 2 weeks after the envelope, I packed a bag. Not all my things. Just the living parts. Shoes. A book. A sweater with a small hole in the sleeve. Toothbrush. Photo of my mother's hands holding cake. He came home early and saw the bag. His face went blank. What are you doing? He asked. His voice was small. Like a boy outside a locked door. I zipped the bag. The sound ran like a line from one end of the room to the other. Can we talk? He asked. His hands lifted and hung there. Not touching. Not useful. We already did, I said. I took my bag. I walked to the door. He did not block me. He did not reach. The door opened. The air outside had a sting to it. Old rain. A car passed and its light slid across the wall like fish. I stepped out. The door shut. It clicked like a seatbelt. I did not look back. I found a small place with a skinny window and a tall plant that leaned toward light. I set my bag by the bed. I took off my shoes. I stood in the empty room. It was not big. It was mine. I changed the locks on my heart. Not with keys. With quiet. With sleep at night. With mornings that did not smell like his shirt. I bought new plates. They were white and plain and clean. I cooked eggs and burned toast and laughed without sound. I opened the window. City noise came in and sat with me like an old friend who knew not to talk too much. His number buzzed my phone. I blocked it. His emails came with long titles and short endings. I did not open them. A week later, I mailed a small box to a woman whose name I did not say out loud. Inside, the pictures, the times, the proof. I did not include a note. 2 weeks later, word came like smoke under a door. A house on a street I had seen on a map went sharp and loud. Papers were signed. Another door shut. Another ring finger went bare. He tried to send a message from a new number. Can we talk, please? It said. I just need to see you. I blocked that too. Days became months. My plant turned its face to the sun and grew a new leaf. I worked. I slept. I washed the same cup each morning and set it to dry. The cup never complained. It poured, it waited. It was a better partner than the man who lost me. Once on a Sunday, I went to the market and tried a slice of peach. It dripped on my wrist. I licked it off and smiled. An old woman at the stalls smiled back and wiped a knife on her apron. The sky was clear. A dog barked at nothing and then at something. Kids chased each other and tripped and got up. I saw a couple holding hands by the flower stand. The man carried white lilies like a flag. The woman laughed and swatted his arm with a stem. Colin puffed. Her thumb got yellow. She wiped it on his nose. He didn't mind. I walked past them. I bought nothing. I took a picture of 2 pigeons on a wire, side by side, like notes in a song. At night I lay in my new bed. No cold strip. No river. Just a soft place. A window hum. A late car. A train far away. The city lights drew little squares on the wall. The squares moved when cars passed. They climbed and fell and climbed again. I watched them. No rush. He tried once more months later. A friend said he asked about me. He told her he missed my laugh. She told me he looked thin. She told me he had a room in a bad place and a plant that died. She told me he drank too much coffee at night and stared at walls. I did not ask for more. The friend said, "Do you want me to give him your number?" I shook my head. I took a sip of water. I set the glass down. The ring of water spread like a small moon. I went home and watered my plant. I wiped the sill. I opened the window and let the dark pour in. Work got busy. I moved boxes. I made lists. I checked them off. I ate noodles over the sink and watched steam rise into my face. I burned my tongue and laughed again, with sound this time. A letter came. Old school. Ink. A stamp. No name for the return. Just a street I knew too well. I placed it on the table. I looked at it. I did not open it. I took it to the window. I held it in the light. The lines of the writing showed through. I could read 3 words. I am sorry. I slid the letter back into the pile of things to shred. The shredder ate it and hummed. The strips fell into the bin and curled like pale noodles. I slept well that night. I woke before the alarm and watched the squares of light climb my wall. Birds made short, busy sounds. A bus side at the stop and then moved on. One day at lunch, I saw him across the street. He stood under a tree with his hands in his pockets. He did not see me. He looked like a man who lost his hat in the wind and never chased it. A boy ran past him with a balloon. The string slapped his shoulder. The boy said, "Sorry," and kept going. The light turned green. He stepped off the curb. He walked away. He did not turn. I did not wave. I did not call his name. I crossed at the other corner and bought an orange. The peel came off in one long strip. I hung it on my finger like a ring. I walked back to work. People say revenge is best cold. Cold is clean. Cold is sharp. But silence is better. Silence is a sea. It rises slow. It drowns steady. It leaves no stain. He sank in it. He taught it to me. I learned fast. I swam out. I moved again. A bigger place. A small porch with 2 chairs. I bought both on purpose. I sat in one. The other stayed empty and faced the street. Sometimes the sun warmed it. Sometimes the rain spotted it dark. Sometimes a cat jumped up and used it as a throne. The cat looked at me like I worked for it. I laughed and bowed. The cat blinked slow. We had a deal. My mother visited. She brought soup in a jar and an orange scarf with tassels. She tied it around my neck and patted my cheek. We sat on the porch and watched a boy ride a small red bike with no hands. He wobbled and hooped and almost fell. He did not fall. He lifted both arms and sailed. My mother clapped once, a small proud clap. The boy did not hear. "How are you?" she asked. I poured tea. I added honey. I gave her the blue cup with the tiny chip. She never minds chips. "I'm good," I said. She looked at the second chair. She did not ask. She took a spoon of soup and blew on it. Steam rose. She smiled with her eyes, not her mouth. We sat a long time. We said little. It was the best talk we ever had. Seasons turned like pages. I bought boots. I bought a coat. I learned where the wind comes in the cracks and where to press tape. I learned the sound of my own keys when I'm the one turning them. I learned that I laugh more in the morning when I make the eggs too runny. I learned I prefer toast a little burnt because it smells like camping. I learned a plant leaf can be a clock if you sit and watch long enough. He sent one last thing. It came by email to an address I used once for a store coupon. He wrote, "Please. 5 minutes." I pressed delete. The screen blinked back to the inbox, blank and calm. I emptied the trash. Gone. I went for a walk. The sky was pink and cheap, like cotton candy. A girl jumped rope in the courtyard and counted to 20 without a miss. She looked at me and grinned like we shared a secret. I grinned back. A wind came and lifted a paper from the ground. It spun up, caught on a fence and stuck there. The paper showed a lost dog with big ears and a goofy smile. "Loki," it said. "We miss him." A number below with teardrops of rain. I took a photo. I shared it with the building thread. 2 hours later someone wrote, "Found him." A picture of a muddy dog and a muddy kid and a muddy yard. Everybody put hearts. That night, I sat on the porch alone. The empty chair looked at me and did not ask questions. A bike rolled past with lights on the spokes that made circles in the dark. A plane drew a thin white line across the sky. It faded slow. I put my feet up on the rail. I wrapped the orange scarf tight. I closed my eyes for a long blink. I saw a ring of water on a kitchen counter. A glass. A hallway. A door left open. A voice that said, I don't even want to hug her. The picture used to burn. Now it sat like an old photo stuck to the bottom of a box. It comes up when you clean. You smile a little at your old hair and your old shirt. You put it back and keep what matters. I went inside. I turned off the lights. I left the window cracked to let the night sing. I lay in bed and put my hand on the cool sheet. It warmed under my palm. I turned my face to the quiet. The quiet did not bite me. It held me. In the morning, sun hit the plant and set its leaves on fire. Green fire. No smoke. No heat. Only light. I made coffee. I poured 1 cup. I stood at the sink while the kettle steamed and the glass fogged. Water ran from the tap and hissed into the drain. I turned the tap off. I placed the cup down. It left a ring on the counter. A small moon. I wiped it with my hand. The moon vanished. The counter shone. Down the hall, the door to my room was open. The bed was made. The pillow held my shape. The sheet waited for night. Everything that loved me back was still here. I stood in the doorway a second more. Then I went to the table and wrote a list on a scrap of paper. Milk. Bread. Batteries. Laugh at least once. I pinned the list to the fridge with a tiny magnet shaped like a cat. The cat looked lazy and sure. Like it slept all day and caught the moon at night. I opened the door and stepped out into the day. The air said good morning without words. I walked down the steps. My feet were light. The world was big. A sound came from somewhere, soft and far, like a train or the sea. I did not chase the sound. I let it come and go. I crossed the street when the light turned white. A bus driver waved me on. I waved back. Far behind me in some old room, a phone might still light up and show a name with 1 letter. A voice might still say careful. A laugh might still scratch the air. That is not my room. That is not my air. I walk. I buy bread. I carry milk. I smile at a girl with a red ribbon in her hair who drags a blue suitcase with stickers. She smiles back. Her suitcase wheels rattle like tiny drums. I go home. I make toast. I burn it just a little. I scrape the black into the sink and watch it swirl away. I butter the rest. I eat standing. I leave crumbs. I do not rush to wipe them. They can wait. On the porch, 2 chairs sit in the sun. I take one. The other keeps watch. A bird lands on the rail and cocks its head. It opens its beak and lets out one clear sound. Not loud. Not long. Clean. I lift my cup and answer with a small tap to the saucer. The sound is enough. The morning nods. We start again.